Hi, in this video we'll take a look at the new Python Git deployment support for Azure websites. I'm logged in the Azure portal. I'll click on New Website from Gallery. Under App Frameworks, there are 3 frameworks available for Python: Bottle, Django, and Flask. I'll select Bottle. So Azure is now preparing the website. The website is now ready. Click on Browse to navigate to it. As you can see, this is a small but functional website. Let's enable Git deployment. Select Setup Deployment from Source Control, Local Git Repository. Azure sets up a Git repository, and whenever commits are pushed to that repository, it detects them and does a deployment. The URL to the Git repo is listed here. We'll now clone it to our local machine and use Visual Studio and Python tools for Visual Studio. So in Visual Studio, I'll select Team Explorer. Local Git repository, I'll say clone. Paste the URL to the repo on Azure. Put this in my Documents folder. Say clone. And there's a solution in that repository, so here I'll just double click and it's going to open it. And if I show all files, here we'll see some of the additional files that aren't part of the project. So if we take a quick look, app.py is the startup script. It sets up a development server and starts the application. Routes.py is where we define the routes for the 3 pages that we have. We use the Bottle template engine. The views are defined in the views folder here. Like the About page and the other pages, they all reuse the same layout. And that layout just loads the style sheets JavaScript, defines the navigation bar. The virtual env proxy, that's used to route the calls from IIS through the virtual env to the application. Requirements.txt lists the external packages that this application depends upon, and for now that's just Bottle. And the web.config files are used by IIS, and depending on which runtime we are using, 2.7 or 3.4, then the applicable file will be copied as the web.config, so that's why it's currently showing as missing in the project. Under static is where the scripts and style sheets are located. So first we'll need to create a virtual environment before we can run it here. When you do a deployment to Azure, Azure will create one on demand the first time, and it will pip install the requirements for your application into that virtual environment. And every developer should be creating a virtual environment on their local machine. So with PTVS it's easy to do. You can say add virtual environment. I'll name it env, that's the name we use as standard. And download and install packages just means that it's going to install whatever is in requirements.txt. And I'll select my Python 64-bit 2.7. Of course I could just use 32-bit as well, but right now my 32-bit installation is not working properly, so but that's fine. Okay, so it's installed, should be able to just start running. So don't bother me again. So we're running locally under the debugger, and it's displaying the log here in the output window. So let's stop this and make a small change to the application. An easy change would be to print the version of Python in here in the About page. Run that again. And now if I go to the About page, I can see the version of Python that I'm running on. So this is nice. We'll go to Team Explorer, view our changes, and commit that. Print. And then we'll say sync with the server. So that's going to take a while. We're not going to see the output of the Python deployment here inside Visual Studio. But if we go to the Azure portal, we can see that the deployment is currently happening. But until it's finished, we're not going to be able to see the output. But what it's doing is it's creating a new virtual environment, and it's going to install the requirements.txt. And note that I use Python 2.7 here, but we also support Python 3.4. And you can check out our documentation on Azure, Microsoft.com for more details. Oh, so now here it looks like we can expand this and view the log. So it's showing that it created a virtual env. It pip installs requirements. The virtual env, it's not going to do that the next time we deploy. The pip install will happen every time, but it's quick. Whenever a package is already installed, pip will just skip over it. And finally, it created a web.config based on the web2.7 config file. So it just made a copy of it. So now if I go browse to that, the About page should be updated, and it prints out the version of Python that it's using on the Azure machine, which is 278 32-bit. So for more information on using Python and Git deployment, check out the Python Developer Center on AzureMicrosoft.com, and you'll get more information there, such as how to deal with packages that are difficult to install because they require a compiler. So it shows you how you can use wheels to get around this, and also shows you how to use Python 3.4. So thanks for watching.